Rookie here. It's the Pat and JT podcast.
Pat and JT podcast.
It's always fun starting off our podcast with some text messages and some voicemail if we have them. 402-403-9478.
And hi, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
See, because you're texting everybody else on your phone, so you don't have to jump on Facebook at It's Pat and JT or Twitter, Instagram if you don't want to. You can just text us, 402-403-9478.
Can you turn my headphones down just a little bit?
I sure can.
You're
right
talking
there.
really loud there.
Yeah, I know. I'm jacked up, I'm juiced, which I don't know why.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so we, and I don't know which one I printed off for you, the text, but we're getting more in as of this morning.
I was talking about my dog. Doogie had been fixed when he was a young whippersnapper. We were talking with the Oaks, as a matter of fact, talking about their pup, and they're thinking about breeding their dogs. But I have always had mine like nip it in the bud immediately, and so Doogie no exception. So before he even knew there was something to nip, he was nipped, and that didn't change his behaviors though. As a boy dog, he had his big stuffed lion, and he would just go to town on that front right paw. That stuffed lion. That was his best friend. And anyway, so we got a note that came in. It doesn't say who from, but it just said, listening to today's podcast about the boy dogs, we have a Doberman fixed. Still, that doesn't slow him down. And apparently, you know how when dogs clean themselves up, just in general, and animals, all animals, right? You see a cat in the corner with his leg up over his ears.
Yes. Jealous.
Yeah. So apparently, their dog, he kind of gets lost in the moment.
Well, I mean, obviously, that's why God is infinitely smarter than we are, and that's why God made it so our hips could not disjoint. Because if they did this, men would be worthless
without much training.
I have
years of there are people who are capable of doing
that. But then on the other side, it's not worth it.
By and large, you really can't reach the Netherlands.
We would be worthless.
That's okay. Interesting point. I heard somebody talking about this the other day, talking about years of training. This has nothing to do with the dogs, but they're talking about, and it's kind of came from political chat, but they're talking about the cost of college, and they're talking about education system, and so for all you teachers out there, I know your ears perk up, and about how to overhaul it and how to get better results. And one of the comments that was made is that if you really just think about it on paper, you put kids into school and they go to school for 12 years, plus another 4, right? If you go to college. So 16 years. So anywhere from 12, 14, 15, 16, maybe 20 years of school. Who knows? If you trained in any profession, you would be an elite ninja. 20 years of training.
Right.
16 years of training. And so it is frustrating then when you hear the results when they say that kids are getting out of school and they can't read. And it's like, after 16 years, I mean, how many years does it take to get to a black belt?
I don't even know.
Right? I mean, there's probably about 7 different levels, I think, 7 different colors of belts. If you're really going to town, I'm wondering. And we should ask a small guy about that, just because he does the jujitsu and all that stuff. Yeah. But when you're thinking about the physical training that people do or any other training for any other kind of profession, even medical, it's 4 to 7 years.
One of Bennett's friends is a black belt ninja in high school. So I'm going to text Bennett now and see if he can ask Dominic how long it took him.
How many years it took to get
Dominic's
from...
only 17, so it couldn't have taken him.
Seriously?
Yeah.
But when you think about it in those terms, it's kind of frustrating because you're like, wow, you're in school for 16 years. You should be really well equipped by the time you come out on the other side. And it is kind of frustrating because some things have gotten away, I would say administratively, some things have gotten away from the teachers' side of it. I'm sure they have some really strong suggestions for the way things should be done as opposed to the way they are because of rules and regulations and all the red tape.
I know. Rules and red tape always keep us all down
on
everything we do.
Right? And I never thought about that before. So I thought, man, if you've done anything for 16 years, you should be like the boss.
Yeah.
You should be at the top of the pile. 16 years you've been doing this.
Yeah. So you're right. I agree.
Should come out with more than just knowing your code for your locker, and nobody even knows that anymore because nobody uses their lockers anymore. That
freaking lockers.
Easy drives me
nuts. I hear you.
Anyway, so that has nothing to do with anything else. But thank you for the note about your Doberman, Becky. Okay, Becca.
All animals that clean themselves, humans would too if we could.
Exactly.
Definitely sure.
Let's see here. What else has been going on?
We were talking about before we started recording earlier today. Like, we got to talk about this. on our podcast today, and I don't remember what it was. We were standing right in the hallway.
Time to say that.
Yeah, I know. We should have talked about this ahead of time. Like, we need to talk about this today. And we didn't, and I don't remember what it was. It was something. What was it?
I don't know. We need to start writing more things down.
I guess. Good Lord.
We need just like
right
walls where you can write on them.
Right.
So
We have them.
notes.
Yeah.
I literally have my, see, this is really kind of cool because now since we have Parkville Media, I have a desk. I've never had a place to be.
I've never had a desk
in
either.
the 17 years that we worked where we were at. We never had an office. We had a phone line, but we didn't have a phone. We never had a place to put your crap. I mean, really, I carried a bag for 7. I still have that bag at home. I look at it. I'm like, man, you got used way beyond your years.
That thing got rode hard, put away wet, that bag.
Big old canvas, but had all of our equipment in it. I carried all kinds of stuff in there. But now having a desk, so I get to sit down and I have a place for my stuff.
I don't like it. I mean, I don't like it.
You don't have drawers though yet.
I don't like, and I don't.
Because you still just have a couple of tables that you're using right now.
Yeah, because I know me, and I know that it'll just get cluttered and junk will get in there. So I don't like it because this is the most I've ever sat down ever in my life on anything because I sit down constantly.
Okay, we need some help. Let's put the flag up. We need help. Because you're having some real difficulties with your chair, and he'll be working, and you go by, and he's way at the very front of his chair, and he's got one knee on the ground, and he's typing, and he's doing stuff.
It's just
and
rough.
You look like you're running late, right? You're trying to just get something done really quick, but you're actually doing that because you're trying to alleviate your back pain, your hips.
Well,
your
and
legs.
one side, when I sit back far enough, like one side of my butt goes numb, so that I shift forwards to the back side of my butt and front. And I've never, when we were working, we were always standing up, walking around and doing stuff. And this is the longest I've ever sat in my entire life, and I'm not liking it.
Well, one of the things that we thought about, and we haven't explored it though, but is to see if we can find one of those stand-up desks that you can.
Expensive though.
They are expensive. We need to find one that maybe
That's not expensive.
It's not expensive.
So
bottom line,
a couple milk carts and a 2x6.
But you need something so you can stand up and lift it up with you, and then you can work standing up, and then when you want to sit down, you can put it back down and sit down.
Yes.
Right?
Basically when I want, basically.
Okay.
Because people that work in offices all the time, man, I totally get it now.
The ergonomic chairs.
Yeah, well, they're like all day long. You get up in the morning, you go to work, you sit.
Yeah.
You're sitting all day. You eat, go to lunch, and you come back and you sit. Like, it's impossible to burn calories, to feel like you're healthy,
Well, you've seen those wacky inventions, like they have the things for under your desk that you can pedal.
Right.
I am just leaning back there. So you can pedal underneath your desk. I'm like, that's
way.
crazy. Now I kind of get it.
Yeah, so I do too. I wouldn't do that. But I get it.
It is. It's hard to sit all day. It is. But back to what I was actually going for was having a desk is now, because I have a desk, I also have like a desk mat in front of my desk, and it's paper, like most people have, or instead of, that's my phone ringing. Instead of having a calendar, mine's just blank sheets of paper. It's awesome.
Just notes everywhere.
Because I'm constantly doodling or writing stuff down or writing down notes to myself. And then when I finally get it full and I have to throw it away, then it's sitting down and trying to decipher what the hell all this stuff is. Because I have passwords. I have people's names. I don't know what accounts they're for.
Just no idea.
Kind of crossing my fingers and hoping when I rip this thing up and throw it away, because I can't wait to throw it away, because then I'll have a big old clean sheet of paper.
I know. I'm all about the clipboard. I love a clipboard. I don't know why. I've wanted a job where I had to have a clipboard, where I could walk around with a pen.
Like a management?
I do. Yeah. I want to walk around with a clipboard and just like check things off. That's what I want to do. So I have my clipboard, and I have like a notebook on top of it. And every day I start the top of my note. I start with today's date, the date number and the day. And then I put everything I need. I go to the day before, the stuff I didn't finish, I put on this list. Yep. So I have to rewrite it again, not just go back to that list.
So then you condense everything that didn't get done is now at the top of the new list.
Yep. And then I add more stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then throughout the day, notes on the side, all this, like, here's what I have. Rock Facebook page, meaning the West Dome. That's one note. West Maple. Then I have 48-inch round table cover, what we're buying for our studio.
Yes.
We're looking for this. I just wrote that down today. I'm like, forgot about those.
Forgot about that.
And I have the words microphone settings. And then I have a studio folder.
Do you have anything there about changing payment methods?
Yes.
Okay, good. I
have 1, 2, 3. I've done it on 2 of them already.
We got 3. I've got about 5 of them on my list right now. We'll go through those later. We're changing the card that we're using to pay, and so I keep having charges still come through on the other card, and I'm like, we need to change that one. It's like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh, didn't realize we had this. So anyway.
Don't forget to change this. Yes, it's just like changing when you're trying to change, like if you change banks and you have to change all your payment methods and your auto pays and everything else. It's something else. Something else that's on our list, or on my list at least, and I mentioned it before, it's not completely settled yet. My lease is up at the end of the year. And so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for a different vehicle. If I want a different vehicle, I can't keep the vehicle I have because it's everybody knows this. You get way better payments if you're leasing a brand new vehicle than if you buy the vehicle that you've been driving for 3 years and you love it, but it's not going to make sense for me to keep it. And also, they take care of like service.
Everything. It's like it's a no-brainer to lease. Yeah, no-brainer.
Bottom line, for me, it's working out fine. But so I've been looking around.
Somebody told me a long time ago, why would you ever buy something that the instant you buy it and drive it off wherever it is, you lose like thousands of dollars in value? Why would you ever buy that?
You're upside down immediately.
Instantly. That's the dumbest thing.
I know. But yet there was something, and it's kind of funny because the tide is turning. Ownership of a vehicle was a thing in our parents' age, especially in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s. You could still buy a vehicle. You could get a really nice vehicle for like $10,000.
Sure.
Now, that's crazy money.
Doesn't even make sense.
You can buy a small house in Juniata, Nebraska, Hastings, Nebraska. Hell, you could probably buy a small house here in Omaha for the price of some of these cars, and not even the super Maserati fancy cars. Just high, like the trim levels on some of these. Even a Jeep, you can get up into $80,000.
Yeah, it's craziness. So you want to drive those nice vehicles with all the little amenities and stuff, but you can't afford to buy it outright. No. So you lease. It makes more sense.
Lease the best you can. So I've been kind of checking things out, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to go look at some trucks because I really do miss being in my truck. And I'd had a truck for like 9 years before I got the Jeep, and I love the Jeep, but there's just something about. Isn't there a song? Something about a truck.
Oh, I'm sure there probably is somewhere on your playlist. There's
something about a truck, something about whatever. Anyway, and so I went up to go test drive some trucks. And the guy that was the salesperson, he rode with me and asked what I did. And we got to talking. And he said, I've never listened to a podcast. And he'd listened to us before. He didn't know we were doing podcasts. And he says, can I tell you something? I've never listened to a podcast. I don't even know how. He's got a smartphone. He's really good with it, looking things up and showing me things and doing this stuff, about the vehicle. And I said, well, you probably have an app on there that will get you podcasts right now without even, do you have an iTunes account? Do you have Spotify? We went through the whole list. He didn't have any of those. And I said, I bet you've got that and you can figure it out. He says, well, that's all fine and good, but how do I figure out I don't even know what I want to listen to because I don't even know where to start, which is I've heard a lot of people say that.
It's like but you just got to find one, just listen to anybody that you like in your circle, whether it's sports, whether it's politics. If they mention the word podcast, just go find that one podcast, and then underneath them, everything's tagged. So you'll start going down a wormhole and you'll find everything. Mm-hmm. You just got to find one little foot in the door. Yep. That's it. And you're in.
Well, finally somebody put together a short list, some discovery tools is what they're calling them, to help podcast listeners decide what to listen to. Because it's the podcasting space. So many people are putting podcasts out, which is awesome. And there's just so many new voices that are out there, and there are no longer gatekeepers deciding who gets to have a show and who doesn't. Everybody can have a show. And that to me is just awesome. So when it comes to figuring it out, some of the tools, and I'll give you some of the names, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but there's Pod Chaser.
Okay.
Interesting. Pod Search, Discover Pods. Breaker is another one. And it kind of has a social component to it because it will let users make their own playlists that they can share with friends, which that's a great idea.
Sure, it is a great idea.
Put together your favorite. Now, what do you listen to? Well, here, I'll send you my playlist so you can see everybody. And then there's another one called Speaker, SPKR, and it will actually curate playlists of short clips from podcasts and then make some suggestions based on your activities. So if you've started listening, it keeps track of what you're listening and liking, and then it'll bring you more suggestions that are like those. And there's even a Facebook chat bot that's called Pod Finder that also will help you with some suggestions. The Pod Chaser is like a database, and so you can access the ratings, reviews, and recommendations in the form of playlists. And the website just launched a new tool. It's called the Pod Chaser Feed. And it can be personalized by following podcast creators, existing lists, other listeners, or celebrities who may make guest appearances on shows.
Yeah,
See, it's just a great idea.
Or even if you go to I only know the Apple Podcast really specifically, but if you go in there and you type in the search bar Joe Rogan, he's the biggest one on the planet. Terrible example.
Let's just put it this way: if you just look up podcasts, his is the first one,
right, everywhere. So
his is the first
terrible example. So if you go there and you type in Scott Frost, it will bring up not only if, say, Scott Frost had his own podcast, it would bring up that. It would also bring up anytime Scott Frost was a guest on another podcast or mentioned it in a description of a podcast. It'll bring up all of those.
That's a great idea.
So if you're interested in something, turtles, just go and search turtles, and there's turtle podcast. There's everything.
I love it. I think these are great tools for people that are just overwhelmed when they first think about listening.
Or also on Twitter too. Search podcasts on Twitter, and there are a lot of accounts that are just built just to help you find podcasts.
You know what?
They ask for suggestions, and people all over the world send what they're listening to. So it's kind of cool.
Those are some of my favorite new follows. Some of those podcasts, and some of them are they're podcast bots essentially to help podcasters because they retweet, and if you're following them, they retweet other people's podcasts. So you might get exposed to something you never would have come across otherwise. But it's kind of a cool deal. So anyway, if that helps you out to find what you want to listen to next, I hope that does. Or listen to it all, because I get it. Totally get it.
What were you, because I don't want to forget to talk about this. What were you going to talk about Hy-Vee? Why are you mad at Hy-Vee?
I am not. No.
They must have done something really bad because you're not mad good.
I have a letter. And I saw that come out. I was like, what the heck? Did I abuse
like an envelope?
An envelope letter, my name, address, the whole 9 yards, and it's from Hy-Vee. And I'm thinking, what, did I abuse my privileges?
What'd I do?
Did I swipe too many times? I'm over swiping. Don't swipe.
Something before you read that, a suggestion for Hy-Vee at their manual, their self-check things. Why is the lady so loud that says, "Have you used your value rewards?"
God.
It's everything else is so quiet, but then all of a sudden she asks you so at 12 decibels louder than everything else. "Have you used your value plus gas perks reward?" It's so, and then you scan it and it goes, "Thank you, welcome, valued guest member." It's so embarrassing.
Guest member account activated.
Yes, and activate. What's this?
What?
2040 activated.
I always wish that when she's speaking, why not instead make her quieter? And then bring the words up on the screen, too, so I can see them. Because it startles you to begin with. You don't always hear everything she says.
It is so loud.
And you're almost embarrassed, but then everybody else is doing the same thing. And it's just like you're like standing in a party because everybody's machines are going off at various levels. It's like, oh my God, this is too much.
Right.
Too much for me. But yes, Hy-Vee and I are in great terms.
All right, good.
I everything about Hy-Vee. We just talked about them the other day, as a matter of fact. Talked about the delivery and pickup and all that great stuff when we were talking to the Oaks.
Yeah.
Right? So then oddly I get a letter from Hy-Vee the next day. I'm like, what I do? But I want to tell them thank you because it is, I'm sure that they hated having to do this, but apparently they had come across some unauthorized activity in some of their processing systems. And that was the end of July, early August. And they did an investigation. And as it turned out, it said the specific timeframes. Apparently, there were some cards that were compromised, and not just in their stores, also fuel pumps, drive-through coffee shops, restaurants, their Hy-Vee market grills. Not all of them. Wahlburgers locations that Hy-Vee owns and operates were also involved in some Des Moines areas, some Omaha area, and it said the specific timeframes may have been accessed in various locations, and they go through, the times that this happened, and there were several months that this happened. And anyway, right. So there are 6 locations where access to card data may have started as early as November of last year. So a year ago, November 9th, actually, almost to the day that we're speaking about this. And one location where access to card data may have been continued through August, and our records show that your Hy-Vee Fuel Saver card was used when making a purchase with cards ending in, and it's my 2 cards, at a location. So they have a list of all the locations and specific times, and then it has complete instructions of what to do, how to check, double check. But I appreciate what they put together, and I know nobody likes to do that because you remember this has happened to other businesses, and they tried to keep it on the DL. Yeah. And then
just be honest. Just say
this happened. I mean, stuff happens.
Just own it. Just like it. Lisa Rinna always says, own it. Just own it, you'll be fine.
That's who you quote. Real Housewives.
Yep. Quoting Rinna.
He just gave me a lesson too on Real House or reality TV the other day. As a matter
I remember
of fact,
it was pretty smart too.
It was
what was
super
it?
smart because we were talking about one of our podcasters and their podcasts. They were worried that some of them would be after the fact, like say they were doing podcasts about their family's activities at the football games, and some of these aren't going to launch for maybe another month. And the football games will be over with, and people aren't going to care anymore. It's like, no, the stories that are in there are awesome, and they're evergreen. And then youth piped up.
Well, yeah, because these reality shows right now, if you're
right now,
if you're
because he's watching right now. What are they doing, Pat?
Well, it just depends. Traveling, fighting.
But it's summertime everywhere, isn't it?
It's summertime everywhere, or it's winter. Like New York Housewives just ended, and in the middle of the summer, and Ramona was running around in fur jackets and boots and everything, and you don't care. It's about the stories, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
The grand scheme of things, just go for it.
All right. It just doesn't matter. Okay, 402-403-9478. Bennett texted back, and he's going to ask Dominic how long it took to be a ninja, but he's not.
So there's
not
your
around
tease
Dominic
to
yet.
pull you through to the next
Yes.
episode.
So if we have that answer by our episode tomorrow, then we'll let you know how long it took Dominic to be a black belt. It's pretty impressive.
So circling back to the top of the show.
That's it. Ooh, cool
There
call
you
back.
go.
It's Pat and JT, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or 402-403-9478.
Pat and JT Podcast. A Parkville Media Production.